All right, so I figured the easiest way to do this is just to kind of jump into it with the worksheet that you had for homework, and so that's what I figure we'll do here. Let me get this zoomed up where I can see it and write on it. And when you talk about commissions, before I kind of even start with this, I want to remind you that commissions are split in a number of different ways. First of all, the transaction itself, if you're talking about an exclusive agency transaction, so I guess maybe I should, kind of go all the way to the beginning. If we talk about exclusive agency, how many firms are involved in an exclusive agency transaction?
One.
Just one. So what you would have then is you would have the sales price and we would pay a total commission from that. Okay. And that's it. Does that make sense for everybody?
Yes.
That's exclusive agency. Now, if we go to a co-brokered transaction, not a lot really changes, quite honestly. It's not like the whole world just shifts because we went to a co-brokered transaction. All we've done is added another what? What are there two of in a co-broker transaction? There are only one of in an exclusive agency transaction.
Firm.
Two firms. Here's the thing. The total commission is still the total commission. Does that make sense for everybody? The seller's not paying more money simply because there's another real estate firm involved. What's going to happen is that commission is going to get split between two different sides or two different firms. Is everybody with me on that? Okay. And the one firm that's on the seller side is called the listing firm. And what do we call the firm that's on the other side of the transaction? What are they called?
Selling firm.
The selling firm. So this is the seller's side. This is the buyer's side of the transaction. And so all we've done is taken that total and split it into two pieces. Now, here's what's interesting about that. Doesn't the listing side plus the selling side have to add up to be the total right here?
Yes.
That has to be true, right? Because we're just splitting the number. Everybody all right with that?
Yes.
Okay. So those two things have to add up. And then the last wrinkle that we kind of add into this thing is, well, what if are agent splits or licensee splits or salesperson splits? It all means the same thing. Because this is how we actually pay the people who work the transaction. Well, again, nothing really changes except we're taking what goes to the listing side and we're splitting it into how many pieces?
Two
pieces. And what are those two pieces? Who gets them?
Listing firm and the listing broker.
And the agent or broker. Right? And the same thing happens over here on the selling side. That commission gets split between the firm and the agent. Is everybody all right with that? Now, here's what we know. If I add the selling firm's piece plus the selling agent's piece together, shouldn't that add up to be this right here?
Yes.
And if I add the listing firm's piece plus the listing agent's piece, shouldn't that add up to be right there?
Right.
Right? And we already said that the listing side plus the selling side equals the total commission up at the top. All we're doing is taking one big number at the top and we're chopping it into pieces, ultimately into 4 pieces in a lot of cases. Is everybody with me on that?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Now, I want to show you the 2 different ways this can be presented to you. They can present it either as the total commission is 6% of the sales price, and the listing firm or listing side is keeping 4%, and the selling side, they don't tell you. Well, if we already established, don't these 2 things added together have to add up to be this?
Mm-hmm.
Don't they?
Yes.
So what's over here?
2.
2%. Everybody with me on that?
Yes.
Now there's one other way. There's one other potential way they could present these splits. And I think people make it unnecessarily hard when they give it to you this way. What if they say to you the total commission is 6% and the listing firm keeps 60% of all commissions collected? In this case, you can't add anything to 60 and get 6. Does that make sense? There's no way. This is not going to be a negative 54% over here. That doesn't make sense. We're not adding those 2 things together to get to 6%. If it's given to us in this way, what do we have to add those 2 things up to get? They still have to add together, but what are they adding up to?
100.
100%. I'm going to tell you how to figure out which way you need to go. It is just this simple. If they give you little tiny numbers, those 2 little tiny numbers add up to be this number right here. If they give you a total commission of 5 and the next number they give you is something less than 5, then you're adding them together to get to 5. If they give you a total commission of 6% and then the next percentage they give you is bigger than 6%, then you got to add them together to get to 100%. Does that make sense for everybody? That's just, it's the easiest way. Just remember, if you got big numbers, they got to add up to be 100% when you're doing commission splits. Because, look at it this way. If I say to you, the total commission is 7%, and the listing firm offers 25% of the total commission to a firm who brings them a buyer. What goes on the other side?
75.
75.
And you knew it had to be 75 because there's no way you can add anything to 25 to get 7. Does that make sense?
Yes.
But if they had said to you in the same transaction, the total commission, if they had said in the same exact transaction, the total commission is 7%, and the listing firm has agreed to give 1.5% to a firm that brings them a buyer. Small number. What goes over here? Is it 98.5% or is it 5.5%? What goes over here?
5.5.
5.5. If they give you little numbers, you add them up to get this number. If they give you big numbers, you add them up to get 100%. That's the easiest way. Just know that's what you're going to do. And you're going to do it every single time that way. So that's the very basics of splitting a commission. And then the rest is just how many times are we going to split it? Are we going to split it 1 into just 2 sides? Or are we going to split it again and get the agent's piece as well? Is everybody with me on that? Okay. So let's take a look at the ones you took home for homework. Okay. It says here, make sure I got plenty of room here. All right. It says here, Blue Sky Real Estate is listing a property for sale using the exclusive right to sell listing agreement. Now, here's what I would tell you on any math question. You're just reading through for reference purposes. Don't try to deal with these numbers. Don't try to do anything until you find what they're actually asking you for. You're just reading. You're not trying to figure out anything at this point. Blue Sky Real Estate is listing a property for sale using the exclusive right to sell listing agreement with a 6% total listing commission, and they've agreed to compensate cooperating selling firms with 40% of the total commission if those firms, see, I don't remember any of that because none of it's important yet because I don't even know what I've been asked for. Some of you try to read these things in such detail and keep all of this working in your brain. You can't, yeah, Isabella, it doesn't work. It does. Nobody's that smart. Nobody, I can't do that. I need to know what I'm being asked for and then go back and pull out the stuff that I need. Okay. And you just know that's the way math questions work. That's the way the math questions are always going to work. We got to find the question first. And they're cooperating selling firms with 40% of the total commission if those firms produce a buyer for the property. Based on this information, how much is the total listing side commission on the transaction? There's the question right there, finally. They finally gave us a question. How much is the total listing side commission? So I know in some way I've got to split up a commission into two pieces because I've always got a listing side and I've always got a selling side, and they want to know the listing side. Is that fair enough? Without filling any numbers in, without trying to do any math, I'm just finding the question, and that's what they want to know. That's what they're going to ask me for ultimately. Now we're going to go back through and we're going to pull out the information that we need. Well, we know sales price always goes up here at the very top because that's the number that everything's based off of. Did they give us the sales price?
Yes.
They did. And how much did they say it was?
500,000.
So that's $500,000. That's right there. Okay. Now, this box here, the total commission box, right here, is total commission. Did they tell us what the total commission was on the sale?
Yes.
How much is that?
6%.
It's right there. 6%. And we know that the company that's over here on the listing side is Blue Sky because they told us their name. I kind of like to fill that in so I know who I'm dealing with. And they've agreed to, Blue Sky has agreed to compensate cooperating selling firms with 40% of the total commission. So that number right there, this 40%, who does it go to? It says it goes to cooperating selling firms. So is the 40% going to go on the left on the listing side, or is it going to go on the right on the selling side?
Selling firm.
Selling side.
Selling firm. So we
On the
got
right.
40% over here. Now, they gave us a really big number. I can't find, there's nothing I can add to 40 and get 6. Would y'all agree with me on that? So what do I need to, what do these two numbers need to add up to? What number needs to go on the left-hand side?
100.
They got to add up to 100. So what goes on the left-hand side then for Blue Sky?
60.
60%.
60%, exactly. So we're going to put 60% over here. Why did it not change color? On this side. And now we filled in all the information. All the information is filled in for us for the transaction. And again, I had already circled in the very beginning what they wanted to know, which was they wanted to know the listing side. Is everybody with me on that?
Yes.
Okay. Now, once I know these numbers, it simply becomes a multiplication question, and I start with the number at the top, which is the sales price. So here's what my math is going to look like on this. It's going to be $500,000. And what's the first percentage that I come to working my way down? Because here's the path I got to take. I got to get from here down to here. What number do I have to go through to get there?
6%.
6%.
I have to go through 6%, so that's times 6%. Everybody with me on that?
Mhm.
Okay. And then what's the next number I have to go through to get there? Times what?
60%.
60%. And if I type that all into my calculator, which I've got over here, $500,000 times 6% times 60%. That looks like $18,000 to me for the listing side. Does that sound familiar?
Yes.
Yes.
So how do we feel about that one? I don't want to go on until I know you feel okay about that one. So Isabella, you said so. Talk to me. What is it? What would make you feel great about it?
Oh no, I understand everything. The only thing is when we actually going up and we divide it.
That's right. If they give you the commission and ask you for the sales price, you do the exact same thing except you divide everywhere you multiply.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's it. That's my only problem here.
So that's just going to be a memorization thing.
Mm-hmm.
If they start you at the top, you're going to multiply all the way down. If they start you at the bottom, you're going to divide your way out. So you multiply down, you divide out. Down is multiply, up is divide.
All right, got it.
Okay?
Thank you.
Travis, most of the boxes are a lot more neater than those little half triangles on that.
Your audio is really bad, Carlene.
Thing you did. I've got triangles all over my papers.
All right. Yeah, Carlene, can you say that again? You stopped your video, and that'll probably help with the audio because the audio was terrible. What did you say? No, stop your video. Leave your video off because that'll probably help with the bandwidth issue.
Well, I was on cell service, not on, I just went on internet now.
I
So
got
it should be, yeah. So when you did that video, you did those half X's, you know, the little treetops. And so I like the boxes better. It's neater.
Okay. Either way.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. All right. We feel better. Feel pretty good about this?
Yes.
Okay. Good. So then let's take a look at the next one. Okay. It says Thomas is, and again, I'm just reading, trying to find a question first. Thomas is a provisional broker affiliated with Ace Homes of the Triangle and has taken a new exclusive right to sell listing in which the seller agrees to a 5% total listing commission. If Ace Homes compensates firms representing the buyer with 55% of the total commission, how much is the selling side commission owed on a $350,000 purchase? So there's our question right there. How much is the selling side commission owed on a $350,000 purchase? So if they want to know a commission, I've always got to start with the sales price at the top. And then I have the total commission from there. So there's my box for total commission. And then that gets split into two pieces, the listing side and the selling side. Okay. And that the question says, how much is the selling side? So this is, and I think it's really helpful to map it out for yourself. This is where I'm going. This is what they're asking me for, right? Because ultimately, I'm not going to be able to get to an answer until I got something in this box right here. I got to get that box filled in. Does that make sense? If I don't get that box filled in, I'm never going to be able to get an answer. Okay. So Thomas is a provisional broker affiliated with Ace Homes of the Triangle and has taken a new exclusive right to sell listing. So here's what I would do. I would go ahead and stop trying to, I would stop trying to like keep this working in my brain. I would write it down. If Thomas has taken a listing, which side is he on? Is he on the left on the listing side, or is he on the right on the selling side? Which one?
It's on the listing.
He's on the listing side. So go ahead and label him. Put him over here. This is where Thomas is, and this is where Ace Homes is. That's not going to actually help you with the math, but it will help you keep stuff straight in your brain. Has taken a new exclusive right to sell listing in which the seller agrees to a 5% total listing commission. Well, we're going to put that 5% up here in the total commission box. Is everybody okay with that? So there's our total commission.
Right.
Okay. And it says if Ace Homes, and so Ace Homes is over here on the left, here they are. If Ace Homes compensates firms representing the buyer with 55% of the total commission, so that 55%, that number right here, is that going on the listing side or is that going on the selling side?
Selling.
Selling.
That's going on the selling side, okay? So that 55% goes on the selling side. Now, ultimately, I know we're not gonna need it, but if that's 55 over there, what goes over here?
45.
45%. So we've now filled in the whole transaction. I mean, we've done the whole thing. The whole thing is mapped out for us now, and we can deal with whatever commissions we want to with this thing. There we go. So they want to know the selling side, and they told me the property sells for $350. So I'm going to fill that in up at the top. There's my $350,000 sales price. They're starting me, oops, sorry, I meant for that to be a highlight, not a draw a line. They're starting me here, and they want me to get here. The only way to do it is to go through that. Does everybody see that? That's the path I have to take to get there. And since, Isabella, they gave me the number at the top and they're asking me for the number at the bottom, which way do I go? Do I multiply or do I divide is what I'm saying.
You have to multiply.
You have to multiply. So what's the first number is going to be $350,000 times, and the first number we come in contact with percentage-wise is 5%. And then times 55%. And if we do all of that, I come up with looks like $9,625 to me. Does that
So
sound
I
about right?
actually got this one wrong because I multiplied for 45% instead of 55%.
Okay, so why'd you do that?
I guess I got confused. I didn't read it good enough.
So, I mean, and I asked that as a serious question, like, why'd you do that in the sense of, do you think, did you know, were you just guessing what numbers to throw in a calculator, or did you map it out and put the numbers on the wrong side? I guess is a better question. Like, did you actually map it out on paper, or were you just looking at it trying to type numbers in the calculator? Which did you do?
No, I think I misread the question. I thought they wanted to know, you know, the listing side.
Gotcha. And so that's where you have to really be, when you find a question, be sure you know which side they're asking you for. Okay. And that comes with practice. That definitely comes with practice. All right. So let's look at number 3 then. It says, make some room for myself here. Number 3 says Zelda is purchasing a property in Raleigh as a first-time home buyer. she's hired Century 21 Triangle Group to represent her in the transaction. Okay. And broker Stephen is working with her. Again, I'm not reading for detail here. I'm just trying to find the question. Stephen has been affiliated with Century 21 Triangle for 4 years, and he has an 80% commission split with his firm. Zelda purchases a property listed by Danny of Keller Williams Elite for a sales price of $800,000. KW Elite is charging the seller a 5% total listing commission on the sale, and KW has agreed that they will compensate any cooperating firm who produces a buyer with 40% of the total commission. Based on the above information, how much of a commission will Stephen earn on the transaction? Finally, we found the question. How much commission will Stephen earn on the transaction? Well, anytime it's a commission question, we know we've got to split it out. And then we got to figure out where the heck Stephen is to know what he gets. Commission questions always start with the sales price. That's always at the top. And then from there, we always have that big total commission number. And we know that total commission is going to get split into a listing side and a selling side. Is it asking us for the commission on one of the two sides, or is it asking us to go even further than that?
Go further than that.
It wants us to go one step further because it wants to know how much a person is going to make, right? So in this case, do we have to split these things up one more time?
Yes.
We sure do. We've got to split these yet again to get to a listing agent or broker and the listing firm. And then we've got to split this side and do the same thing. We need a selling agent and we need a selling firm. Is everybody okay with all of that? We feel pretty good about that. Okay, good, good. Find my mouse here for a second. Carlene, I turned your video back on since you're on internet now. We'll see if it's better this time. You don't have to, but we'll try it again. All right, so now that we've filled in the little map here, let's find the question again and then circle what they want for an answer, okay? It says, how much of a commission will Stephen earn on the transaction? Well, again, I don't know who Stephen is, so I don't know what to circle. We're going to have to fill some stuff in. Is everybody with me on that? We've got to get it filled in. Don't try to guess. If you know, great, circle it. If you don't try to guess. Let's get the information filled in, okay? Let's just start from the beginning. It says Zelda is purchasing a property in Raleigh as a first-time home buyer. I'll zoom this down a little bit so I can get it all on the screen at one time. There we go. Zelda's purchasing as a first-time home buyer. She has hired Century 21 Triangle Group to represent her in the purchase, and broker Stephen is working with her. So stop right there. Is Zelda the buyer or the seller?
She's the buyer.
She's the buyer. So if Century 21 and Stephen are representing her, are they going to be on the listing side or are they going to be on the selling side if they're representing Zelda the buyer?
The selling side.
Selling side.
They are the selling side. That's exactly right. They are the selling side. So here's what we know about Century 21 and Stephen. They are over here. This is Stephen. And this is Century 21. Does everybody see where that comes from? Are we okay
Yes.
with that?
Yep.
Okay.
Yes.
It says Stephen has been affiliated with Century 21 for 4 years and has an 80% commission split with his firm. So he has an 80% split. So we're going to put the 80% with him. What does that mean about his firm? If he has 80%, we know these two numbers together have to add up to be 100. So what does his firm have?
20%.
His firm has 20%. Everybody okay with that?
Mhm.
All right, let's see what else we've got. So there's that number right there. We've dealt with it. Okay. Zelda purchases a property listed by Danny of Keller Williams Elite for a sales price of $800,000. Well, that $800,000 sales price, that always goes up here at the top, right? That never changes. KW Elite is charging the seller a 5% total listing commission. That total commission always goes here in that first box. So we're good there. And KW has agreed, and by the way, could we go ahead and fill in the information about who the listing firm is?
Yes, KW.
We know that's Keller Williams, right?
Mhm.
Okay, so we know the list firm over here is KW. All right. It says KW Elite is charging the seller a total listing commission of 5%, and they have agreed that they will compensate any cooperating firm who produces a buyer with 40% of the total commission. So that 40% is going to get used somewhere on this level right here. The question is, does it get used on the listing side or on the selling side? Is KW, this is KW over here, and this is Century 21 over here. Is KW keeping the 40%, or is KW giving the 40% over to Century 21 side? Which one is it?
Century 21.
They're giving it over to Century 21 side. Does everybody see that?
Yes.
And so the 40% goes right here. To me, that's the hardest part about this question, is making sure you get that 40% on the correct side. If that's 40%, then what does the listing side have to be?
60.
60%. And it says, based on this information, how much of a commission will Stephen earn on the transaction? Well, now we know where Stephen is. So there's our destination. Here's our starting point, and here's our destination. To get there, we always have to go down, and then we have to go right in this case, and down here and there. Do you see now what numbers you have to go through to get there?
Yeah.
So our math is going to look like this. Our math is going to start with $800,000. And since we are starting at the top and working our way down, it's all going to be multiplication times 5%, because that's the first number, the first percentage we come in contact with, times 40% times 80%, correct? Is everybody good with that? Okay. Now, if you type all that into your calculator, times 5% times 40% times 80%, I end up with $12,800 for Stephen to get paid on that deal. How do we all feel about that number?
Good.
Good?
Yep, good.
Good deal. Okay. Is there any question about that one? Because that one is more complex than the first two, because you had to go a level deeper. Feel pretty good about that, then you're getting there for sure. All right.
Trav, I think that some of the confusion part in the beginning is determining who is on which side. I'm pretty good with everything else. So like, she hired Century 21. So like, just kind of like reading, analyzing those things, deciding who's the
Exactly.
listener.
It's all about setting up the teams, right? Basically, it's like you're reading through this cast of characters, and you've got to figure out who's on what side of this murder mystery, right? Who's the killer and who's the victim? Who's the buyer and who's the seller? you gotta set up the teams, and that's the most important part of these questions. Because can we all agree that if you get it set up correctly, the math, the actual math, the part where you put numbers together is easy.
That's easy, yeah.
Right. The math's is not the hard part. It's the getting everybody on the right team that's the difficult part. I think the only thing that's hard about it as a math question is when you throw numbers in it, people get intimidated. But realistically, is this more of a math question or is this more of an agency question? Which one are they really testing here?
Agency.
This is an agency question. Do you know who's on what side? That's really what they're testing here with these kind of questions.
Can you show the question one more time, Travis, on the screen?
Yeah. Oops. Sorry. Wait a minute, that moved everything. Let me fix that. There we go.
Thank you.
Yep. That's the whole thing at one time. Okay, we good with that one? All righty. Let's take a look at the next one here. Give myself room to groove. All right. This one says, Bobby Buyer is represented by Kim in the purchase of a home in Clayton. Kim is a provisional broker associate with Dewey, Cheatham, and Howe, and she has a 55% commission split with her firm. Upon closing of escrow on Bobby's new home, Kim was paid a commission of $4,550. Assuming that the listing firm in the transaction was charging a 6% listing commission, and cooperating with selling brokerages by offering 45% of the total commission, what was the purchase price of the home? So finally we found the question. What was the purchase price of the home? Well, when they give you commission-based questions and then they ask you for the purchase price, they're really asking you for the number that's all the way at the top of this thing, right? This is what they want to know this time. Well, the path looks exactly the same as it always did. Actually, sorry, let me do that first. As it always did. From the purchase price, come on, you've got a total commission. And then that total commission gets split into two sides, the listing side and the selling side. Okay. And then from there, those two sides might get split into the listing agent and the listing firm. That's a really sloppy box. Let's redraw that. The listing firm. And then over here, you would see potentially a split between the selling agent and the selling firm. Okay, so let's see what information we got. We already know we're looking for the purchase price. We know they're not going to give us that. That's what we're hunting for here. So let's see what information we do have. Bobby, the buyer, so right there, we've got some information, is represented by Kim in the purchase of a home in Clayton. So Kim, is she going to be the listing agent or is she going to be the selling agent?
Selling.
Does everybody agree that she's the selling agent? And we know that because it says she represents who?
Buyer.
Buyer.
The buyer in the transaction. So Kim is going to be right here. Okay. It says Kim is a provisional broker associate with Dewey, Cheatham, and Howe Realty. So we could fill in the selling firm here as DCH. That's who she works for. And she, Kim, has a 55% commission split with her firm. So here's her 55% commission split with her firm. Well, if she's getting 55%, what's her firm getting?
45.
They have to be getting 45%. Upon closing of escrow on Bobby's new home, Kim was paid a commission of $4,550. So put her money right here with her, $4,550. That's how much money she got. So put it there with her. Assuming that the listing firm in the transaction was charging a 6% listing commission, where do we always put that total commission? At the top, just
At the top.
Yep, all the way at the top and in the big box up here. And they're cooperating with selling brokerages by offering 45% of the total commission. So is the 45% staying on the listing side, or is it being offered to the selling side? Where's it going?
Selling.
Selling side? Does everybody agree that 45% is going to the selling side?
Yes.
Okay. So here's the 45% going to the selling side, which means the listing side over here must be what? 55%. Good. Now that's all the information they give us, and they want to know what is the purchase price of the home, and we already circled that. What's our starting point? What's the number they gave us that we're going to have to start with?
4,000.
4550, which is Kim's commission, correct?
Yeah.
So basically, I need a path from Kim's commission back up to the purchase price. Well, if I follow the path, I have to go just like this. The only way I can get there is through those numbers. Does that make sense for everybody?
Yes.
That's the path. So, Isabella, since the path starts at the bottom and works to the top, is our math going to be multiply or is our math going to be divide?
Divided.
Divide. That's exactly right. This is going to be division all the way. So we're going to start with 4550, $4,550 divided by 55%, divided by 45%, divided by 6%. And if we do all that math, uh, 45% divided by 6%. Looks to me like this house sold for $306,397 and about 30 or 31 cents.
31 cents.
How do we all feel about that now? There's the whole thing.
Good.
We okay with that one?
I forgot the 55%.
Yeah, if you forget one, and that's why I like, kind of mapping it out. If you forget one, you'll be wrong for sure. Or if you use the wrong number, you'll be wrong, obviously. But I love drawing it out as like it's like a little maze game, right? You just follow the path. Okay, are we all right with this one now?
Yep.
By the way, that's about as complex as they get. If you can handle that one, you can handle any one on the test. I mean, that's it. They don't get harder than that. They really don't.
That's what confused me at first, is when it got to she has a 55 commission split. I couldn't figure out did it go on her side or did it go to her firm? Because that's where
it's always going to be the person's side. When they give it to you that way, when they say Kim has and she has, if that's the person's number, and then the firm's going to get whatever is left over.
Mm-hmm.
They always give it to you as the person's split when they're talking about the agents like that. Okay. And so then number 5 here. Go ahead, Tara. Did you need something, Tara? Or was that accidental?
Oh, no, sorry. Someone was texting me. Sorry.
That's all right. That's
I
all right.
didn't realize. Yeah, I didn't realize I was unmuted.
All
Sorry.
right. You're fine. I just wanted to make sure you didn't have a question. No worries. I get it. Okay. It says Renee is a broker with Sunrise Realty who earns a commission check from her firm for her representation of Sunny seller in a transaction. Renee executed a listing agreement with the seller in which the seller was to pay Sunrise Realty a 5% brokerage commission. And Renee has a 40% split of all commissions earned with her firm. Sunrise Realty has a firm policy of paying a cooperating selling firm 60% of all commissions. Notice I'm not doing anything with these numbers because I still haven't found a question. When Sally purchased a home listed by Sunrise Realty with the help of a buyer representative, and Renee ended up with a commission check for $78.50, what was the sales price? Finally, there's the question. What was the sales price? Well, I know it's a commissions question because I've seen a bunch of commissions already. And I know whenever I have a commissions question, we always start with the purchase price or sales price up here at the top. And then we have from there the big commission number, the total commission. And that's going to get split into the listing side and the selling side. And then I know that those two sides usually get split up into a listing agent and a listing firm. And over here, the same thing happens, except it is selling agent and selling firm. Okay. All right, so now let's see. And they want to know what was the sales price. So they're asking me for that right there. That's where they want to go. So now it's my job to fill in the information. Renee is a broker with Sunrise Realty who earns a commission check from her firm for a representation of Sunny, the seller, in the transaction. So I'm going to point out right here, Renee is with Sunny, the seller. So does it make sense that Renee's going to be down here then? Does that make sense for everybody? She's going to be the listing agent? Everybody all right with that?
Yes.
Okay, so let's fill Renee in. We know this is Renee down here. There she is. Okay, and we also know that she's with Sunrise Realty, so we could go ahead and fill them in too if we want to. Just to keep it all straight. It says Renee executed a listing agreement with the seller in which the seller was to pay Sunrise a 5% brokerage commission. Well, the seller and that big commission always goes to appear at the top. Is everybody all right with that?
Yes.
It was in that box right there, always. And Renee has a 40% split of all commissions earned with her firm. So Renee gets 40%, which means her firm Sunrise keeps how much?
60.
60%. It says Sunrise Realty has a firm policy of paying a cooperating selling firm 60% of all listing commissions. So is that 60% going to stay over on the listing side, or is it going to go to the selling side?
Selling.
It goes to the selling side. Does everybody see that?
Yes.
You okay with that? So that 60% goes over here. And that means the listing side is getting what?
40.
40%. Okay. It says when Sally purchased the home listed by Sunrise Realty with the help of a buyer representative, and Renee ended up with a commission check for $78.50. Well, so Renee gets $78.50. Let's put that here with her. Oops. That is sloppy today. 78.50 here for Renee. What was the sales price of the home? Well, the number they gave us that we have to start with is right here, 78.50. We know we want to get to purchase price up here. We've got to make a path between the two. The only way to get from there to there, and I don't care how you draw it, if you draw it from the top to the bottom or the bottom to the top, this is the path that has to be followed between those two things. Everybody okay with that as being the path?
Yes.
Good. And we have to start with the 78.50 because that's the number we know. So our math looks like 78.50. And it's going to be multiply or divide. They gave us the bottom. They want the top. What do we do?
Divide.
We're going to divide
40%.
by 40%. And then divide by what?
40%.
40% again.
Divide by 5.
And divided by 5%.
It's 981,250.
How much was it?
981,250.
Perfect. Thank you.
Agreed.
I want the job that they're making, just saying. To buy that house.
You want to be the home buyer there?
Yes.
I tell you who you don't want to be. You don't want to be Renee. That's a really crappy commission check on a $981,000 house. Just
I know. Why is it so low?
Well,
That's what
because
You're splitting it.
she's giving away way more than she's
Giving it
giving.
away.
I mean, you look at it. I mean, she's giving away 60% of the money to the selling firm, and then she's giving away another 60% of that to her firm. So
She's not getting anything out.
she needs a better deal.
Why would somebody give away all of that though?
Just to get the listing, maybe?
Well, you mean which one? Why would they give away the 60% at the top?
Yeah.
Yeah, you know, maybe she's having a hard time getting it sold. Maybe this is not a luxury market she's in, and this is like the nicest house in the area, and she's had it on the market for 6 months, and she's just trying to do anything she can to attract a buyer. Well, the best way to attract a buyer is to attract buyers agents. So maybe she
Oh, I
decides,
got you.
you know, a bigger chunk of the pie because of that.
So Travis, you can always go back with the seller and negotiate what you're going to give. Like, so you can have something, you can have a lower rate or percentage the first
Yep.
couple of months, and then 8 months later, you realizing it's not selling. We can go back to the drawing
That's
board.
exactly right. I mean, so to your point, maybe they started out, and I'm just going to kind of throw some numbers in here. Maybe they started out with this 5% commission, and she was keeping 60, and they were giving away 40.
Right.
And then, you know, that she wasn't getting enough buyers, so maybe they went to 50-50. And then still wasn't getting any buyers, so then she finally went to, she keeps 40 and gives away 60. You see what I'm saying? Like, she could have progressively changed that over time as she realized she needed to do more to attract buyers.
So it's always some sacrificing.
That's right. Well, the way she looks at it is, it's better to keep 40% than to get nothing because it's not selling.
Exactly.
That's true.
Yeah.
Right? Because 100% of zero is still zero. If it doesn't sell, you're not going to get anything. But now you see that conversation starts to make sense in your head because you see how these things are getting split up and how it's getting divided. I mean, the truth is, Renee doesn't want to give anything to a selling firm. She doesn't want to share it all, but she realizes she needs them to bring her a buyer.
Right.
Are we feeling better about these questions?
Yes.
Good. I mean, that's my goal, is to get us to a point where we're feeling a little better about these. All right. So let's look at number 6 here. Okay. Now, let's read number 6 and see what they want us to do. It says Elmer needs to walk away from selling his home with net proceeds of $125,000. so he can afford the down payment on his new home in Chapel Hill. He must first pay off his existing mortgage balance of $287,450. He will owe $38.50 in outstanding property taxes, as well as $400 in attorney's fees. Elmer has agreed to compensate the firm listing his home with a total listing commission of 6% of the sales price. Based on this information, for what amount will Elmer need to sell his home in order to accomplish his goals? So here's our question. For what amount will Elmer need to sell his home? How much does he need to sell it for? But there's another key to this question. This is not a commission math question, because they're talking about the seller. They're not talking about the agents and their money. They're talking about Elmer, the seller, and how much he needs to net. He needs net proceeds. This is a seller net question. Does everybody see that?
Yes.
Okay. Because they're talking about how much money does the seller need to have left over after everything's been paid. And whenever we have a seller net question, we start to look at the transaction as a whole, because basically there's two pieces to any transaction. There's the seller's share of the pie, and then there is the commission or the agents and firms' share of the pie. Okay? So who gets the bigger share of the pie, the seller or the agents?
Seller.
The seller does, right? The agents get the smaller piece. Okay? In this case, they don't tell us what the seller's piece is, but they do tell us what the agent's piece is. This little fraction down here, sorry, I want that yellow, not blue. Oh, come on. I want you to erase. Thank you. There we go. They want to know that piece. Do we know, do they tell us in the question how big of a percentage that piece is?
6%.
Yeah.
6%.
Says the commission is 6%, right?
Mm-hmm.
We know this is 6%. If we know that's 6%, do we also know how big the seller's piece is?
Yes.
How much is it?
94%.
It's 94%. So we've dealt with now dividing the pie up. Let's look at the cash. How much money does the seller need to walk away with? How much? What's our goal at the end?
He needs $125,000.
We need $125,000 in a seller net. That's how net just means what's left over after all the expenses are paid. But to get there, they've got to first pay off their mortgage balance. So does it make sense that we need to add that in?
Yes.
Because they got to pay off that mortgage. Okay. Do they also have to pay those property taxes?
Yeah, for $3,850.
$3,850 in taxes they have to pay. And they also have to pay, it looks like, $400 in attorney's fees. How do we all feel about that? We can add all those numbers together. And if we do that, 287,450 plus 3850 plus 400. It looks like to me we get 416 and $700. How do we all feel there? That's the seller's share, which is also 94% of the whole transaction. Does everybody see that? The seller's share is 94% because the other 6% is going to the real estate agents. Is everybody with me on that?
Yes.
In order to figure out, and you're always going to do these questions in this way, in order to figure out how much to sell this property for, you're going to take the sales price and you're going to divide it by the seller's, or not the sales price, sorry. I didn't mean that. My brain's not working this morning. Erase. Why is my eraser so stubborn today? You're going to take the seller's share and divide it by the seller's percentage. So that's 416,700 divided by 94%. Which is 443, 297, and about 87 cents that we would need to sell that property for in order to accomplish those goals. So whenever you see these seller net questions, it's always going to be add the money together, and whatever that number is, divide it by the seller's share, percentage-wise, of the transaction. As we talked about earlier, Carlene asked this question, you know, can you add it all together and then multiply 416,700 times 6% and then add that back in? No, it will not work. It's a different number, right, Carlene? Yeah.
And then you got to guess about which one is, it's a little bit more. It's normally, you know, but yeah.
It doesn't work that way.
No. It doesn't work. And I was like pulling my hair out of my head. I'm like, okay, what am I doing wrong?
Yeah. Well, and so you're always going to do these seller net questions that way. You're going to add the money together and you're going to divide by the seller's share of the transaction. And I think number 7 is exactly the same way. So let's go through that one as well. Okay. It says, Sandra is selling her parents' home in Mebane and wishes to net $50,000 from the sale after all expenses are paid. There's that word again. She wishes to net $50,000. As part of liquidating their estate, she contracts with Mebane Exclusive Properties to list the home at a 5% commission rate. Her parents have outstanding reverse mortgage balance of $118,627, outstanding property taxes of $2,300, and there are attorney's fees totaling $2,100, which must be paid. Based on this information, for what price will Sandra need to sell? There's our question. So we want to know the sales price based on the fact that the seller needs to net a certain amount of money. That's how we know it's going to be one of these questions where we look at the seller's share and then we take that commission slice out. So let's take the commission slice out. Do they tell us what the commission is?
5%.
It's 5%. So there's that 5% slice. So what's the seller's slice?
95.
95%. Does everybody see where those two numbers are coming from? Because that's the most important part of answering this question, is just getting that total transaction divided into two slices, a seller slice and a commission slice. Are we all okay there? Okay, good.
Yes.
Good. Good. Now, we need to look at the money. The seller needs at least $50,000. That's their net that they need to walk away with after all the expenses are paid. They've got a mortgage balance of $118,627. I don't care if it's a reverse mortgage or a conventional mortgage or an FHA mortgage. Every mortgage needs to be paid off at closing, correct?
Yes.
So we got to pay that off. We need to add that to it. They've got property taxes they need to pay of $2,300. And then they've got attorney's fees of $2,100. Okay. So we've got all the cash ready to be added up. That's a $50,000 seller net plus $118,627 in the mortgage payoff plus $2,300 in property taxes that need to be paid, plus $2,100 in attorney's fees. Looks to me like they need total seller cash of $173,027. That's the seller's share of the transaction, which also happens to be 95% of the transaction. So we take that 173,027 and divide it by the seller's share, which is 95%. And that means we would need to sell that property for 182, 133, 68 is how much we would need to sell the property for.
Hey, baby, we're not gonna go chase rocks.
How do we feel about that question now? Are we okay with that one?
Mm-hmm. Will there be another word? Well, obviously the key word is net, but will they try to throw in another kind of word?
I can't imagine they would try. I can't imagine what other word they might throw in. You know, I think they're probably always going to use the word net there.
Cool.
Yeah. And that's going to be your immediate flag of, okay, it's one of those questions. It's one of those. And I think that takes us through all of the different, you know, types you had. I mean, the homework questions are all just variations of these. So, are we okay now? We feel all right? Good. Good. Well, that's all I got for you today. If you feel okay with those, I think that puts us in a pretty good spot for the math for this week anyway.
Thank you, Travis.
You are welcome. You're welcome.
Appreciate it, Travis.
Yep. Y'all are